1 for 3 passing for 4 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. In case you don't already have it committed to memory, that was New England Patriots quarterback Trace McSorley's line in preseason week 1. And even though it looks like a blip on the radar of NFL numbers at large, McSorley put on a show Friday night. A tragedy, yes, but a show nonetheless. So, when someone asks you why you're watching preseason football, just remember Trace McSorley and that stat line. He led only 2 drives before Malik Cunningham would come in, but both ended in masterpieces, meditations on what it means to be a backup preseason quarterback. Like a gridiron poet, the pen may be mightier than the sword, but neither have ever played football. To end his first drive, facing a 3rd and medium, McSorley has to scramble as the pocket breaks down. He lunges for the marker and comes up just short. But you gotta love seeing him stretch for this one. He's fighting for his NFL life out there. All the while, the broadcast does an interview with Devin and Jason McCourty, mostly around the fact that they are twins. It's called the Twincast. The whole thing feels a little dystopian. Are we not entertained? On what will be McSorley's final play of his 2023 debut, he's put in front of a 3rd and 22 mountain to climb. But he doesn't check it down. Instead, he nearly moves the chains on a pass that gets into his receiver's hands. Zooming out, we see that McSorley is also making the best play available to him. Houston is playing a cover 3 zone, and with the Patriots receiver running a comeback route towards the sideline, McSorley is gonna get a chance to make a play here. Everywhere else on the field is covered, and this completion over here in the flat would just mean 5 to 7 yards before an inevitable punt. McSorley gives his guy a chance with a well-placed ball. The only nitpick here, he's just a little late getting it out and doesn't give the receiver much room to operate. McSorley has bounced around the league across the past 4 seasons, seeing mostly practice squad action in Baltimore and one fairly unimpressive start in Arizona last year, where he threw 45 times, nearly matching his overall career attempts. But you can't fault him for what he's doing out there. He's trying to make it happen, things just aren't going his way. On the other side, or I guess the same side since they're on the same team, is Malik Cunningham. Rather than star in a sad tale, he became the hero of his own story, gaining a lot of fans off the back of his preseason performance. For his rushing touchdown, he shows both finesse and power. After the middle of the field clears out, he sprints through the trenches to juke out 2 defenders in the middle and then bulldoze 1 more into the end zone. Cunningham was drafted this past spring out of Louisville, only it was by the Birmingham Stallions of the USFL. He turned down that opportunity when the Patriots offered to sign him. So far, they've used him both as a wide receiver and quarterback in camp. You could tell he was a gadget player pretty quick after he came in, just by the number of quarterback keepers New England ran for him throughout his touchdown drive. But the Patriots offense also seemed to leverage what he could do as an athlete to help him take what defenses gave him through the air. On his first draw play, he sees the middle linebacker stick to the receiver on the quick out route, so Cunningham takes off after hitting the top of his drop back. But check out what happens later when the Patriots are set up in a similar formation in a similar situation. This time, the linebacker is more concerned with Cunningham. You can see his head swiveling back and forth between the receiver and the quarterback. Catching the defender wanting the best of both worlds, Cunningham darts one to the receiver for a nice pickup on a smart pass. New England was on a mission to make life difficult for the Texans linebackers on this drive. And while Cunningham only had 19 yards on 3 of 4 passing, he really should have been perfect, adding a tasty touchdown pass to his resume, but this one goes through the receiver's hands. It's a play-action pass with a shot route on the outside. Cunningham rolls out, avoiding pressure with the help of his running back, and finds his receiver. And rather than only use the rest of the space inside the sideline, Cunningham utilizes the depth of the field as well. He places this ball exactly where it needs to go, just over top of the defender, only the receiver just can't come down with it. Where McSorley left plenty to be desired, and Cunningham turned some heads, both guys are showing out to make names for themselves in the NFL. These are the types of preseason battles that make sitting through vanilla defense and screen-filled offense worthwhile. And the phenomenon isn't limited to just this game. It happens constantly. Even later in the same night, the Minnesota Vikings and Seattle Seahawks game featured its own tale of 2 quarterbacks. Jaren Hall showed a bit of sizzle but couldn't execute consistently. Meanwhile, some guy called Holton Ahlers was throwing up prayers and having them answered.
Throws up basically a punt, and it's caught by Landers inside the 10, and he walks into the end zone. What are we doing here?
Of course, none of this means any of these guys are ever going to do anything. The quarterback that first got me into preseason backups was Felipe Franks a few years ago with the Atlanta Falcons. Similar to Cunningham, Franks was also a multi-position player. But in the 2021 preseason, against the Tennessee Titans, the only thing anyone thought of him as was a quarterback. Or at least someone who took the snaps. He went 2 for 10 in that game with 9 yards, but was remembered for ripping off an electrifying 51-yard run. The best part about this whole thing? Although the play got them into Tennessee territory, the Falcons didn't even end up scoring. Even so, Franks made a lifelong fan out of me. He's a reason to watch preseason, to see guys on the outskirts of the league make big plays. Every single one of them is trying to make a name for themselves. The luxury we have as fans is to pick and choose based on random moments we catch of theirs and then say, yeah, I like this guy. If nothing else, it makes me way more excited for future garbage time. You know, when the camera pans to a third stringer starting to warm up and Chris Collinsworth hits you with a,
well, here's a guy that...
Sometimes, something magical happens. But more often than not, we get our hearts broken. But I'm here to say that that's not always a bad thing. Maybe we should welcome that more often. McSorley, Cunningham, I know I can't trust either of you, and I don't care. I'm now a fan. So, if anyone ever asks you why you're watching preseason football, you could say all of that, or you could just say 1 for 3 passing for 4 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please consider giving it a like if you did enjoy it and subscribing to the channel so you can catch the next one. Thanks. Bye.